We're up to Ois Hay. The Rebbe was explaining that the Avodas Hanisyonis is not by way of working with an item like the Avodas Habirurim, which you take food or anything that you do, you work with it to elevate it. But the Avodas Hanisyonis is in a way that um, that you have to just get rid of it or push away the nisoyin, not to elevate the nisoyin. You're not working to elevate the nisoyin, but rather to push it away. And the Rebbe says this is actually the difference between a positive mitzvah and a mitzvah's loisus, a prohibition. The positive mitzvah works with the item to elevate it. The prohibition pushes it away, not to use it. But the Rebbe is going to explain now that still over there you're pushing away the metzias. Either you're working with it or you're pushing it away. It's still a metzias. It's either through positive contact by elevating it or through negative pushing it away. But when we're talking about the Avedis Hanisyonis, over there it's not a metzias b'chlal. You're just, it is pushing it away, and it's within yourself that you have to overcome. Let's look inside. Hey, v'hinei im hayois she'oifen ha'avoida de mitzvos loisase hu al yidei dechiyu bitl. Although the way the work, the service with prohibitions is by pushing and negating, mikol makoim, but yet, bazeh mishtavel lahavoida de mitzvos. In the following, it equals out with the service of the positive mitzvah. The shneim, both mitzvah say and loisase, hem be'inyan shel mitzias. They are dealing a matter of an entity. Shechal olav hageder de asiya, veheder ha'asiya. So over there applies, yeah, doing or not doing. So we're dealing with a mitzias. We're dealing with an entity, and either I say you do, or loisa say you don't do. Elo shebemitzvahs asay hu mitzuvah al ha'asiya, ubemitzvahs loisa say al heder ha'asiya. By the positive mitzvah the person does is commanded to do, and loisa said not to do. But you're dealing with something here. Do it or don't do it. There is a metzias, there is an entity here. When we're dealing with nisyonis, there's nothing there. But because by asay and loisase, gam hais askus, b'mitzvos loisase, so also the occupation, when you hold back with the mitzvos loisase, hiloirak beha odam atzma. It is not just the person who is not kim gam beha mizbarer, it's also being mizbarer. The entity is being impacted through not using it. So there's a mitzias which gets impacted by the loisas that pushing it off and not using it. The im heyois sheiker avodas mitzvahs loisasahi. Even though the main work of the mitzvahs loisasa, he was is by controlling, dominating, and controlling his yetzer that he shouldn't eat. Shazohu b'derech dechiyu bitl. This is in a way of pushing it away and being mevatel, but still. Mikomokai. Yet the kivon shaveidosoi he im dover sheyesh lo mitzias b'geshem v'chaimer. Since he's working with an item that has an entity both in physical and material, it's a physical matter which he is negating, but he's negating something which is an entity. So he has a connection, minimally in a way of not, of negation. Lahadover hamizbarer, to the item that is being sorted out. So there is either a positive connection, or at least there is a connection through not using it. As opposed to the work of nisyonis, he be'inyan b'l'shein ha'maimer. That is with a matter, as the Maimer says, in a matter she'einei dover mitzad atzmei. It is not, it's non-existent on its own. Rak shehuma dover lahalim livnoya. It was put up there to block and to prevent. It's a non-entity. The whole entity was just placed there to block and prevent him. That's why the Metzias, and it is really a non-Metzias. V'lochein ha'his askus shel ha'adam hi im atzmei. Therefore, the occupation of the person is within himself, is with himself. La'oirer es hakoyach ha'atzmi shaboi, to arouse the essence koyach which exists in the person. Shahu hatoykef lamed neged hanisoyin. That is the strength, the force to withstand against this challenge, against this test. Veloy lihispoil mimenu klal, and not to become affected by it at all. To such an extent, he doesn't even enter with any arguments, any response. He only standing with full force. There is impossible otherwise. He's just standing against the test. Nothing can do otherwise. And he negates the test entirely. He just pushes it all away. And then through this strong, standing strong, this force, mizbatlu be'emes, then it is actually truthfully, it gets negated. Ki mizgala amitis hadover, because it is revealed the truth of the matter. Shahu inyan she'ein le mitzias, that this is a matter that there is no mitzias there. If you stand strong, then you reveal the truth of the matter, that it's no entity. B'chol mitziusa hi ra kidei she'izgale etzel ha'odam etzem nafshei. The entire mitzias of this nisoyin is so by the person should be revealed the essence of his nefesh. Shehu harotzen hapnimi shaloi shalamaylo mislapshus bikelim. That is his inner will, which is higher than dressing up in vessels. It doesn't come down. It's just the essence of his will, so that the person can bring out openly his essence of his will. He needs the Nesoyan, but it's not there. The Nesoyan is not really there. It was just placed there so that he can bring out the essence of the Rotzen, which is higher than the Slapshun and Kib. Example, so similar to the test of Avraham when he was tested by the Akedah. She'ikir psiches hatziner de mesiras nefesh, The main opening of the pipeline of this concept of self-sacrifice al dei Avram, hoyo b'han nisoyin da Akedah. It was with the test of the Akedah, the taking his son, and that was the test. That was the main test. So, what was the test over there by the Akedah? It wasn't just the fact that he can take his son. Sheikir hanisoyin bazeh, sheikir hanisoyin hoya beinyan hazrizus. The main test was on this rizus. How quickly is Avram going to do it? That he does it with Vayashkim Avram baboiker. That he got up in the morning right away to be Mekayim. The Tzivur Hashem, the Nesoya, to take his son. Okay, before we get Geras HaKodesh, as explained in the Geras HaKodesh, the Alter Rebbe, that this Rizusei, the Avram Avinu, Olav HaSholem, He Haimedes La'ad Lonu Chulu Adoilom. It is the haste, the quickness of Avram Avinu Olav HaSholem. It wasn't just the act itself, but the Zrizis. He Haimedes Lonu Ad Oilom. That stands forever. So that Zrizis came about through the test that Avram was challenged. So what happened? Sages of blessed memory say the Nasil Lifneim Nor Godchul. As they were going, Abraham with Yitzchok to the Akedah, there was a great river they couldn't pass by. Abraham did not get affected. He went to fulfill the mission that Hashem sent him. He sends him to the Akedah. He sent an obstacle. He continues to go. He goes in the water, and then is battle mitzias hanor. And that way the existence, the whole river was gone. Because it was no real river there. The river, the Nor, was to test him to bring out his strength. So when he overcame it, that he went down to the Mayim, the river was gone. Aidezen is battle mitzias hanor. Because through his force of Avram, Nizgale ha'emes, the truth has been revealed. That the entire existence, the entire entity of the river, there's no river there. It was all there, only to test him. I'm not, the Rebbe doesn't explain so well here. I don't understanding so well. Why is this negeya to so much to this rizus? The Rebbe brings down, it was the fact that Avram Avinu did it with zrizus. I guess zrizus points to force, that you do it with a toikev, with a force. The Rebbe brings out that the Nesoyin over here was not just the fact that Avram did it, but he did it with a force which then, when it came to a river in front of him, it was this battle. He goes into the water. So the Rebbe says, the same thing after the water, the test of the Akedah itself, not the water that is interfering with him going to the Akedah, but the actual Akedah itself. The Amalek Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to Avram, Lo yamarti lecha chulu. I told you, I didn't tell you to shecht your son. All what I told you is to bring him up onto the mountain. Asakte achate. You brought him up, now bring him down. So it turns out it wasn't even a test. He didn't have to shecht his son. The Eibishter never wanted him to shecht his son. He only wanted him to bring him up. And once he brought him up, he told him to take him down. So you see, this was only, it says it was not really a Metzias. The similarly was also the contact of my father-in-law, the Rebbe. The ones whose joy and redemption were celebrating on the Maimer was given on Yud Tmuz. When he was sitting in prison, as related in his write-ups and his talks, that he decided in the beginning to be strong, forceful, without any fear, without consideration, without worrying about the situation. So was his conduct while he was sitting in prison. So what happened through the force? Through this, Hine loizu bilvad shan hogazu. Nos no loy hatoikev lamed neged kol hakoshim v'halomis v'astedim shalom aiser. By standing firm, that gave him the force to withstand all the difficulties, all the obstacle, the obscurity, and the blocks of the incarceration. It was a lot of obstacles. There was a lot of blocks over there. This wasn't just physical, but there were blocks of not allowing the Rebbe to do his avodah. That block and obscure was not just his physical matters. Also on his spiritual matter. As emphasized, that while he was sitting in prison, it wasn't just physically that he was confined and restricted and taken into prison, but at that time that he was sitting in prison, he didn't have the opportunity to occupy himself to spread Yiddishkeit and the wellsprings. So more than that. So not only that he was able to withstand, but that is through that standing, that firm standing, that negated, that was mevatel ha'helem v'hester, the helem hester. Even though that lechatchila it appeared that they're a strong and big entity, the people arresting, incarcerating the Rebbe, as related in the write-ups of the Rebbe, through the force of the Rebbe, they were negated from their entity. They were no longer an entity. To such an extent, he was freed openly in front of everybody. That brought about an advantage in the master of the Simcha of Gula himself and the Friedrich Rebbe. It brought an elevation by him. The Yutas Kislev, similar that it was by the idea of Yutas Kislev. Through the incarceration and redemption. There became an advantage as it relates to Chassidus. As explained in many places, in a similar way, also here, by the arrest and incarceration of the Friedrich Rebbe, That there became an advantage in the Bala Simcha V'Agula and the Friedrich Rebbe canal. Shenisra b'havoido. The Afotz is hatoydo b'yeser sa'is mikmoy shahoyso lifnei. That there was an increase in the work of spreading Torah with more force than it was before. To the extent shehischil that through this you started actually to spread in the entire world. Before this, it was restricted to Russia, where they lived. Now it started spreading out in the whole world. After Yud Beis Tammuz, the Rebbe was freed, and he went out to the free world. It started spreading out all over the world. In such a way, in such a manner, from here and forever. So that it became a hafotze eternally. Similar, the Gemara says, it says, when you learn Torah 3 generations, then you know it's going to be for eternity. The Gemara says, the kasher yeshno gimel doidos. When you have 3 generations that are occupied in Torah, Shuv ein haTorah pesekes mezare, the Torah will never stop from his seed. Because the Torah goes back to its host. If you hosted the Torah for 3 generations, the Torah will always come back for eternally. That's ad olam. Similar in our matter, we're talking about the spreading of Yiddishkeit of the Friedrich Rebbe throughout the generations. Shekvar yeshnom in all the world. Shekvar yeshnom keteitzoa mehageula. We already have, as a result from the redemption of the Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tamuz, of Yud Beis and Gimel Tamuz, we have Gimel Doides Shalem de Torah Mekayim Mitzvah, 3 generations of those who study Torah and fulfill the mitzvahs. And v'oid yosef, and more than that, you have Mechabevei Torah u'mitzvahs. You have those who hold the Torah and mitzvahs dear. So it's not that they're just doing the mitzvahs, but they're loving the mitzvahs. They're holding the Torah mitzvahs dear. That way, the observance of their mitzvahs is done behidur, in a perfect way. Shekol zehu al yidei she'omad b'toykef achi godel. This all took place because he stood, the Friedrich Rebbe, with the firmest force, the Ma'ila Mekol Cheshbonis, beyond any calculations. That way he negated the test in the highest level. Since the body follows the head, after the head, the body goes. So since this is the Friedrich Rebbe, we who are like the body of our head, the head is the Friedrich Rebbe. So it needs to be likewise by the service of each one. That we will go in the right path, that he taught us from his ways. We will follow in his pathway. To stand with force, not to become affected from anything that prevents, holds back the service of Hashem. Because since he is going to fulfill the mission, the shlichus of the Rebbe in this world, so the test has no existence. The Eibishter is testing you only l'das yishchem evim es Hashem, to know if you love Hashem Elokeichem your God. But v'al ha'toykef u'mesiras nefesh mizbatel hanisoyin, through the standing with force and with self-sacrifice, the test is nizbatel. Just like the Friedrich Rebbe, by standing there with strength, he overcame, and the Nisayan was bottled. And like for bringing from Avraham Avinu, the same to us, that we follow the Friedrich Rebbe and we stay strong, then we are mevatel the Nisayan. But Ulhoven calls Rebbe Pratish Yeser to understand this more in detail. Yes, lahagdim tchila klolus inyan yiridus haneshama lamato. We need to introduce first the general idea of the neshama coming down below. Sheyirida gedoyla mebirigra rama lebira amikta. That's a tremendous descent from a high rooftop to a deep pit, all the way from the top. What does it mean? The neshama, before it descended below, Tahirahi. We say neshama shenzata was pure. There's several perushim. What is exactly the meaning of tahira? Tahira means pure, but what level is it? So there's different levels. Aleph the koya loilam hatzilus, that it goes on the world of Atzilus. That means the neshama comes originally from Atzilus. Beis Tehira Tato, the lower level of Tehira, which is a higher level than Atzilus. And Gimel, the third level is Tehira, higher, upper level of Tehira, which means these are very high levels. So that's the place where it comes from. That's the Igra Rama, the high rooftop. And it descends very low, not just to the worlds of Brit, Sirasiya, which already are Olmin de Pruda Bechlal, they're considered worlds of separation. But further, Kiim La'olam Haza Tachten, the neshama comes down all the ways in this low, our world, the low world. Shein Tachten Lamata B'mena, there's nothing lower. This is the lowest. It's as low as it goes. Sherube Kekulera, the most of it, as the whole thing is all evil, this place, Elam Haza. You just got a little bit of good mixed into the Elam Haza. It is such an extent, to such an extent is the Ra'ev here, Shemaisa Olam Haza Koshim Chulu. What's going on in this world is difficult. Kimavur Betanya B'Shem Yitzchayim, as explained in Tanya, in the name of Yitzchayim. So besides the fact this whole Olam Haza is the lowest and the most difficult, but the Olam Haza Gufa, the work within Olam Haza, it's in the lowest of the lowest in this world. It's in a place. Where in this world do we work? You've gone down to Egypt. That's what Moshe told the angels, that the Torah was given to the Yidden because they went to Mitzrayim. You didn't go to Mitzrayim. Do you have a Yetzirah? That means that's where we are. We are to deal with Mitzrayim and the Yetzirah. You need to wage war with the Yetzirah. Today he tells you do so. It goes on. He starts off telling you, convincing you, and the next day he says, go ahead, worship idols. So we have to wage war. Yitzhara is telling us, and he's trying to get us all the way. So that is the opposite of the Asura Hadibris, I'm your God, should not be, which is Ashorish L'Ramach Mitzvah Sasei. Anoichi, I am. That's the root for the 248 positive mitzvahs. And Lo Yilecha V'Shasal Lo Yisaseh is the root of all the prohibitions. Kivur B'Tai is explained in Tanya. So we have the neshama coming from a very high place to face challenges and struggles in a very low place. This Yerida, this descent coming from Tehira Iloah, even the highest level, is for an Aliyah, which means even higher. Although the neshama did not come down to fix itself, but rather to fix the body and his soul, his body and his soul an animal soul, and his portion in the world, Kimavur Beitz Chaim Huva Betanya, as brought down in Tanya. So while the purpose originally was not to elevate the soul, but it was to fix the body and nefesh habamis. Still, when the neshama comes down below, it is elevated to a higher level than it was before it descended. Shalamailo gam mithiru ilo, which is even higher than the tihiru ilo, than the highest level. But I said, and even more than just higher. To such a level that has no comparison, has no connection to any level of that evolved and a step and a mile. It's beyond ishtalshlu, beyond steps, beyond mile. Ein shaykh loymar, to such an extent you can't even say at this level. You can't even say, oh, has advantage more than ishtalshlos. It is so much higher and so much not connected that you can't even say that this is greater than Seder ishtalshlos. But rather what you can use is the known language, the ishta'ova begufa de malka, to get sucked up in the body of the king, to be with the essence and his blessed Mahus Hashem himself. As the Zohar writes in one place, in this level, the loy mishtakchi b'malka elo Yisrael b'chedoi. It's such a place which the only one who is by the king is just the Yidden alone. That place is even higher than Torah mitzvahs. That's where we get elevated to through the Yerida. The Aliyah is, as it says in the Zohar, to be swallowed up in the body of the king, just where Yidden are alone with Hashem. This elevation is through the service of Torah mitzvahs. I was created to serve Hashem. Torah mitzvahs, the Eibishter placed Adam Arishin in Gan Eden to work it and to keep it. What is the working? Is la'avda, is to work the garden. Those are the 248 positive mitzvahs. And to keep it, that's the 365 prohibitions. The Chol Mokav Shenemar Hishomer, to guard it. The Gemara says, wherever it says Hishomer, Ein El B'Leisas, that means when the Torah says Hishomer L'chod, that is a prohibition. So, L'Shomra, Eibishter put us to work mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs loisaseh. So that's what we are here in the world through the mitzvahs aseh. The Eibishter places us, the Adam, into this world. We have to work it aseh and loisaseh, the 248 positive mitzvahs and 365 prohibitions. Tzorich l'zagdomas ha-Torah. Got into Tuesday by learning Torah. The God limud that the greatness of study is that brings to action, that helps us, brings about. The gam nitzuach yetzer hara wa'idei Torah, and also the way we win the yetzer hara is through the Torah. Besides the fact we need the akdamas of Torah, because Torah brings us to action, that helps us with the la'avdo l'shamra. Torah helps us overcome the yetzer hara. While I created Yetzer Hara, but I also corrected the Torah is the spice that you need to modify and take away the Yetzer Hara. If this menuvel, this disgusting, the Yetzer Hara bumps into you, pull him into the base medrash, into the study hall. Learn Torah. Sur meira, ba'asei toiv, ba'kesholim v'retfei. You have all three things. Sur meira, that's loisaseh. Ba'asei toiv, aseh. Ba'kesholim v'retfei is Torah. The koya mitzvahs esa, mitzvahs loisaseh v'Torah. So when we do this avodah in this world, we take the neshama into a higher level, even than Tahirahi, into the level of Atzvos and Mahus, through Torah and mitzvahs that we do in this world, and that elevates us to this highest level. And we'll be Mamshech. Be'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.